There were two denizens of Flurf whose theories brought general mirth. Their horizons were bent, yet on they went, spouting non-stop nonsense of flat Earth. Thank you for visiting my channel. I have a video to show the simple math behind how to calculate equilibrium across a density boundary, but something's come up that deserves a response. I also wanted to try out this animated avatar. It's a hideous concretion of time and gray hair, but I think it has character. At least it does a good job of protecting my anonymity. It's a burden bearing the look of a young Burt Reynolds and the panache of Sean Connery's James Bond. I hope you'll agree I've hidden that all quite nicely. Last week, the YouTubers known as Nathan Oakley and Quantum Eraser flung poo at a visitor to their channel over velocity and acceleration, which Mrs. Oakley and Eraser think are the same thing. Meters per second are not the same thing as meters per second squared. It's okay they don't understand that, but it would be short-sighted of them to say nobody else understands either. They also heckled their guests because they think mole and mass are the same thing, which makes as much sense as saying dozen is the same thing as donuts. Mass is how much matter there is in something. A mole is a specific quantity of units, but there is no specific unit. A mole could mass a microgram or 1,000 kilograms. It's like saying a dozen of something. If a cute, burrowing animal ran into his tunnel with a gram in his little teeth, I don't think Nathan Oakley or Quantum Eraser could recognize what happened. I mean no disrespect, but bless their hearts, I don't think they could tell their mass from a mole in the ground. I recorded 30 minutes on this and then realized the utter silliness of the situation. You can say you have 350 grams of mass in a jug. If the mass is sugar, you could say you have 1 mole of sugar. Both statements are correct, as long as your unit molar mass is a sugar molecule. Why there is any confusion is beyond me, and nobody wants to hear 30 minutes on the difference between flat earth indiscretion and shinola. Next, they decided mass and inertia were the same thing. Mass is measured in kilograms. Inertia is measured in newtons. See the difference? No? Well, that's okay, Quantum Eraser, but please forbear from any career in structural design, pending better clarity in your reasoning. Here's that highbrow discussion of acceleration and velocity.
And they can't weasel their way out here because velocity and acceleration. The velocity of an object refers to the speed in a specific direction. Velocity is nothing but the rate of change of displacement. On the other hand, acceleration is the rate of change of velocity with respect to time. Speed inherently is related to what? Time, right? Miles per hour, kilometers per hour, right? This is a cluster screw. Now, for the next definition. Mass.
Just
Mass
before you move on, John, hold on a second. So, just to clarify, as stated, the two are the same.
That's really sad. I see the definitions of acceleration and velocity Quantum Eraser put on his screen and feel sorrow for what he can't see. Calculus, in this case. I know nothing beyond conversational basic calculus, and I shamefully cannot, as of today, solve integrals or derivatives. I'm going to cure that, but look at what wonders are there, and they are there to see whether or not you have the math under your belt. I've known since I was a pup that a integral was the area under a line, but until I heard Quantum Eraser spouting undigestible nonsense, I never saw it so clearly. Look at this. The horizontal line at 5 represents 5 miles per hour. The vertical line at 2 represents 2 hours. The shaded area is the integral of 5 miles per hour bounded by time 0 and time 2 hours. Count the little squares. There's 10 of them. And 5 miles per hour for 2 hours puts you 10 miles down the road. No doubt, I'm a simpleton. But this is beautiful, and it's powerful. Stuff like this sent man to the moon, returned him safely to Earth, and will do it again before long. Is an integral a mystery? Do you see how the world works for the same reasons math works? A derivative is how fast something is changing. The derivative of a constant 5 miles per hour is 0. No change in velocity. A pendulum swinging back and forth is changing its speed on a varying cyclic rate. The slope of a tangent to a point on a plot of its velocity over time is the acceleration at that point. But wait, my inner simpleton is yammering. If the acceleration of gravity is constant, how is it that when I throw a basketball straight up, there's a point where it's suspended in air for an instant and not accelerating at all? The answer, I tell my inner moron, lies in that difference between velocity and acceleration. You know, those things physicists keep on high shelves to keep flat earthers from injuring themselves. The basketball was influenced by acceleration the whole time, including that instant it was motionless. If you know something is accelerating, that does not mean you know how fast it's moving, or even if it is moving. That last bit, that something can be accelerating and standing still at the same time, takes a little thought. Velocity is acceleration times elapsed time. Anything times 0 is 0, so at elapsed time 0, velocity is 0. More completely, velocity now is equal to initial velocity plus acceleration times time. If the basketball's initial velocity was 9.8 meters per second up with a downward acceleration of minus 9.8 meters per second squared, then at time equals 1, you have 9.8 meters per second plus minus 9.8 meters per second squared times 1 second. 0 meters per second, in other words. So why do I say gravity is negative acceleration? Actually, I'm not. A minus sign needs to go on either the initial velocity or on gravity because they are in opposing directions. Remember that acceleration is a vector quantity with both magnitude and direction. The minus sign signifies the opposite direction. There's more to vector addition than that, and when I get to the next buoyancy video, I'll cover the details. The flat earth community would say that's all math. It has nothing to do with the real world and therefore means nothing. That's about like saying the Appalachian Blue Ridge wildlife is incredible, but only if you don't use binoculars to get a really good look. Ever since I saw Quantum Eraser and Oakley botch the meaning of velocity and acceleration, I've been unable to look at the dashboard in my pickup truck without seeing calculus. The speedometer needle registers speed, unless I include what the built-in compass says. Then I've got the vector quantity of velocity. The odometer isn't just marching toward an oil change, it's constantly calculating the integral of speed. The rotational velocity of the speedometer needle as it winds up or down is the derivative of speed, my acceleration. The rate of position change over time would be miles per hour, so the derivative of the odometer's progression is velocity. How fast we're moving, as registered with an odometer and a stopwatch. Makes sense when you think about it. Any derivative can have a derivative, which would be the rate of change of rate of change. So the first derivative of position is velocity, the second derivative is acceleration, and then you have the third derivative, jerk, which I think may have been discovered in a driver's education class. That's how rapidly the acceleration is changing. The fourth, fifth, and sixth derivatives have to do with more structurally damaging aspects of vehicular motion. They are known as snap, crackle, and pop. Thank you very much for dropping by. Please click the subscribe button if this stuff interests you, and you need to act quickly to avoid long checkout lines. By all means, leave comments below. Let me know if I've missed the mark. As far as this channel goes, I will soon exhaust my capacity for accurate science, but I love to write. For instance, there's something about the hatch bolts on Gus Grissom's capsule a lot of folks don't know about. I've got a little bit more about the irrelevancy of relevant density, and then Liberty Bell 7 is worth a look. And those flashing red lights in my rearview mirror? That's just a new friend I can amaze with cosmic explanations of the blue shift in his radar echo. That part about 42 miles an hour in a 30, that's his error, and it's an understandable goof. He just didn't set the limits correctly when he figured the derivative of his mileage report. I can help with that. Reporting from the county lockup, Johnny Ragadoo. Man, that is one ridiculous pen name. What was I thinking?